Hey, welcome to the show. I'm your host and consumer advocate, Patrick Mattingly. I want to thank you for joining us today on our live YouTube show. And of course, maybe you might be listening on our podcast, but I want to welcome you to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. If this is the first time that you've ever joined our show or you've ever watched us on YouTube or listened to us on the podcast, I don't want to go into too much detail and take up too much of your time explaining what we do. So there is an option that you can go to YouTube, click on our channel, and or do a search for Consumers Corner. And there's a video called What is Consumers Corner? We'll actually have that in a podcast as well. What is Consumers Corner? And that's going to go into a lot of detail as to what we do. But really, just to kind of bring you up to speed with what we do is my goal is to help you as a consumer. As you can see, our logo is a boxing ring, and it's got a couple boxing gloves. And basically what that means is that we're in your corner. If you've ever had a problem, I want you to think about this for a minute. If you've ever had a problem with a company, I don't know if maybe it's a contractor, maybe it's an attorney, or maybe it's some sort of professional business that you feel that maybe, hey, something's not right here. Or maybe it's even worse than that. Maybe you've given a contractor some money and they didn't finish the job, or you gave them a deposit and they won't come, they won't return your calls, and they've got your money and you just don't know where to turn. Well, that's where we step in. And we're going to fight for you. We're going to do everything we can to help you. Now, is the consumer or is the homeowner always right? And unfortunately, that's just not the case. There are many times that I will have people call me and they've got a problem, and I'm just going to be honest with you, and I'm going to let you know that, you probably didn't do so good here. It's not really the company's fault. Because, the reality is I've got to do my due diligence here. I can't just call a company and go, you're bad, and thinking that your story is 100% accurate. And I'm not going to say that you would make up a story, but the bottom line is that I would want to get your side of the story, and then I would get the company's side of the story. And in the end, I'm going to make a decision of who I feel is actually correct or telling the truth. And sometimes homeowners just don't, maybe you didn't get it in a contract. There's not a lot I can do for you if you didn't get a home improvement project done with a contract. So, but a lot of times it's going to be the company's fault. And so what we want to do is give you a voice. We've got the power of media here where you can come on our YouTube show, Consumers Corner, or our podcast, and you can tell us your story about a problem that you're having with a company. You can call us at 866-966-2287. That's 866-966-2287. And or you can text us. If you don't want to call into the show and you don't really want to be live on the air, you can text us your problem at 866-966-2287. And you can, just tell us what's going on, and we're going to either cover it while we're live on the show, or maybe we'll wait till afterwards or the next day and we'll call you and we'll get your full side of the story, and then we'll contact the company and we'll get their side of the story, and we'll try to solve your problem right here on the show. That's what we do. We want to try to help solve problems. We want to, answer your questions, listen to your complaints. And if you've got a problem with a company, if you don't want to be on the air and you don't really want to do it that way, you can certainly go to the site, the website, trustpatrick.com. Just click on Consumer Resources and then click on Submit a Complaint. And we won't contact the company until we've got the full story from you. And whenever you're ready, then we'll contact the company. We'll get their side of the story, and we'll see what we can do to try to resolve the problem. We've been doing this about 10 years now. I started off with a little website called allaboutdriveways.com, and it's grown into this. And that's what we do, is just basically help solve the problems. We don't always get a chance to solve every single problem, but most of the time we can help you solve your problems. We can get some traction where maybe you just have hit a wall and you can't get any calls back from the company. So that's kind of in a nutshell of what we do. I love doing this. I love helping people, and I love doing this show. Today, we're going to be talking, I got a really special guest here in the studio with us, and we're going to be talking about dog training. So I want to tell you just how invaluable dog training is. And I will tell you that we got a dog, we rescued a dog, and we knew that he needed training. And the crazy thing is that how do you go about finding a good dog trainer? I mean, really, how do you go about finding a good dog trainer? It's tough. I mean, especially I guess if you look at it like trying to find a contractor to do some remodeling on your home, it's tough. You got to really shop around, and you got to make sure that you find the right person that's a right fit for you, and that not only that they do actually have the experience that they claim that they do, and they know what they're doing. And we're going to go into more detail on that in just a few minutes, but the bottom line is that if you're looking for a dog trainer, how do you find one? How do you know how to search for a dog trainer? How do you know who to pick? It can be very, very difficult. Now, some people may say, well, how could somebody get ripped off with a dog trainer? And we talk about that a lot on this show, about people getting burned or ripped off by an unethical contractor, or, but it can happen in dog training. And I am today living proof of that. Because several months ago, we went to look for a dog trainer, and we happened to come across a guy that claimed that he was in the military and that he was a military dog trainer. And Christy had a few conversations with this dog trainer, and there was just something about him that just didn't add up for me. I don't know what it was. I just didn't care much for the things that he was telling Christy about training dogs. And I'll tell you, I grew up around a lot of dogs. My parents had greyhounds when I was growing up, and then we had, of course, family pets, and my brother had dogs. My brother's actually a good animal trainer, and I used to think he was the best animal trainer. I really did feel, and he does a good job. But then I realized after hiring a really great dog trainer that he was just a good dog trainer. I mean, he's good, but he wasn't as good as somebody that's in it every single day, and that's really their passion in their life. And sorry, Ken, don't mean to knock you. I'm not knocking you. You are obviously good with animals, but I learned a lot working with somebody that's a professional. So anyway, we went to hire a dog trainer, and this guy was just featured on the news just the other day. Local news station. I don't even remember his name. Jason Paisley. And, he had a nice website, and he had all these great pictures. And of course he had, a shirt that, he was a Marine, and he talked about how he was a military dog trainer. And, I didn't question that. I just didn't realize that people would actually commit that crime of stolen valor. I mean, that's an actual federal crime. You cannot say that you are are a military person when you haven't been in the military. But anyway, I didn't notice that. But there was a few things that he had said to Christy that just made me go, you know what? I don't like this guy. There's something about him I don't like. Well, we're watching the news after the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, dog trainer, this guy comes up, Jason Paisley. And now if you go and you Google him, Jason Paisley dog trainer, you're going to, what? Justin Paisley, sorry. Justin Paisley. If you Google Justin Paisley, you're going to find that Justin Paisley is actually not, look, he lied about the fact that he was a military guy and a military dog trainer. So what else is he lying about? Does he really have experience training dogs? As a matter of fact, I'll even put in this video and in the podcast, I'm going to put a link to the newscast that actually showed this story on this guy. But we're sitting there watching the news, and I'm like, that's that guy. Christy was like, yep, that's that guy. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And me being a consumer advocate, I just wanted to call him and go, you putz. But I didn't. But anyway, you can Google him, Justin Paisley. He's a fraud. The guy, based upon the information that the news channel has put out, I can come to the determination the guy's a fraud. I actually saw another one where somebody did a background check on him to find out who, if he really was in the military. Guess what? They said they called the Marine Corps or the Marines, and they said, do you have any record on Justin Paisley? And they said, nope, no record on this guy. So the bottom line is he's a fraud. So he probably doesn't even really know how to train dogs, in my opinion. I mean, if he's going to lie about that, he's probably lying about a lot of other things. So the bottom line is that there are a ton of people in the dog industry who either A, probably lie and say they have the skill, or B, say they inflate the amount of time that they've been a dog trainer and they really haven't had that much experience. Or C, maybe they're just a flat out lying ripoff person like this guy, Justin Paisley. So it's amazing. You would think that you could actually trust people in dog training, but the reality is it's just like every other industry out there. There's always people that you can't trust. Unfortunately, there's just people that you just can't trust. So how do you pick out a good dog trainer? Well, today I have in the studio with me a very special guest. His name is Rod Butts, and he is with what's the name of your company?
Canine Unlimited Dog Training.
Canine Unlimited Dog Training. So the interesting thing is Christy was doing her research trying to find a dog trainer, and next thing you know, she talked to the neighbor, and she had recommended you to us. And I got to tell you, I mean, he is night and day a different dog. I mean, it was so worth the investment. Because you really, not only did you train him, but you trained us.
Right.
I mean, and that's what we've learned is that, and anybody that's probably watched any of the shows on TV, is that a lot of times the owner has to be trained before you can train the dog. Am I right?
Yeah, it's about 60-40. 60 the owner, 40% the dogs.
Okay, yeah. Well, and you amazed me because I remember when we first brought him to the park. You know, you have a program where you let people come in. I think the first one is free.
Yeah.
So we came to the dog the park in Littleton, I think it was, and I mean, within mere minutes, you had him trained to walk on a lead with you. It was fascinating to me.
Well, we get him started.
Well, you got him started quickly.
Yeah.
You did. I mean, I couldn't believe how quickly he picked it up. I remember you had the lead and you shuffled your feet so he knew you were stopping.
Yeah.
But it literally took mere minutes, and he knew what you were doing, and he started following you.
Yeah, it's just a simple process of starting that communication, because most people don't know how to communicate with their dog. The dog doesn't understand what you want. So the leash behavior is just getting them started to understand, to follow you instead of just kind of go off on their own.
Right. So we went to your first class, and we instantly were like, okay, we got to hire this guy because he knows his stuff. And so we hired you, and I don't remember, we bought a package from you, and I can't remember what does the package consist of?
It was 4 private sessions and then 2 group sessions. So I came to you for the 4. Yep. So we worked on the stuff that you have around here. It gives us a way to work one-on-one. That way there's no other distractions, and I can just focus on you and your dog.
Gotcha.
The 2 group gives you a chance to work in an environment around more distractions. Because anytime you start a dog learning anything, you have to limit those distractions. Otherwise, it's just like you trying to learn when you were in school. If you've got the TV blaring, your friend's over, and you're on the phone, how much work are you going to get done?
Yeah.
Same thing. If we start in an environment where we can limit some of those distractions, the dogs are ready to learn, and they're more susceptible to picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So you did that with us, and he is just a completely different dog. I mean, he's a great dog, and I know that another thing is that you had mentioned something about making sure he's on the lead, and I've noticed that when we don't use the lead, he starts kind of going back to his old ways.
They will push the limit, right? The leash gives you a way to keep communicating.
Yeah.
You can work to off-leash obedience, but that takes a lot of work. But you want to have some way to say, okay, I've asked you to do something. If they choose not to, then you can guide them back to doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Instead of having to chase them around the house and try to get them to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we noticed if you put the lead on him, and I mean, it's like seconds. He's like, okay, yep, I remember this. So do me a favor, tell everybody. Let's talk a little bit about, we talked about experience and all that stuff. Tell me about your story and how you got started in dog training, and how long you've been doing it, and just tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, long time ago, and land not too far away. Back when I was in school, I wanted to learn to train dogs. At that time, there was, as far as I know, there was only a couple of schools around the country that you could learn, that you could pay and go to school to learn to train dogs. That wasn't in my budget. So when I graduated high school, I decided I'd join the military because I wanted to work police dogs. And that was the best way for me to start. I couldn't get into law enforcement until I was 21. So the military gave me an opportunity to start that early. I was given the opportunity to go to dog school in the military down at Lackland Air Force Base, and it was the best beginning training of anything I've ever done. It taught me how to deal with the dogs, how to teach them what we needed them to do. Obedience was stressed because you're dealing with dogs that were trained to bite when they find somebody, so you've got to have that control. So that set that foundation for my training to be able to teach that obedience. From there, I got into law enforcement locally here in the Denver area. Was lucky enough to become the trainer for that department's canine unit. Trained 6 dogs for them for the street. Got to know some trainers, some other police dog trainers in the area, and they mentored me to make me better. Then I began teaching private obedience, first through an adult education program, running 2 classes on Saturdays, about 15 dogs apiece. And, of course, I was younger and a lot better shape, so it was easy. And that kind of helped me build my knowledge in working with a variety of different dogs. Mm-hmm. From there, I've been teaching a little over 35 years. Wow. Privately. And I like to pick up everything else that's out there. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, there is.
And if you take it in and understand what you're looking at, you can apply that where it's going to help you. And if it's not going to help you, just kind of put it in your back pocket because you might need it sometime later. So I've worked everything from small toy dogs to wolf hybrids. I cut my teeth and I specialize in aggression, both fear and just straight up I'm going to kick your butt aggression. And it's what I enjoy doing. But I'll work with anybody or any dog to help make the dog better so you can go out and enjoy them.
And from the times that we've talked, this is not just a hobby of yours. This is a passion.
It is. I get the opportunity to work with several rescues. I'm the guy that they go to when they've got problems. And so we can try to keep dogs that have already been adopted in homes, because a lot of times people will adopt a dog, run into a problem, and rather than try to work on it, they just want to check out and give the dog back. Well, we've got to find some place for that dog. So instead, because they're already emotionally invested, we help teach them and the dog the obedience, so they've got a way to communicate, and then the dog can stay in that home. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of fun for me. It keeps me busy, keeps me young, I guess. But it's a lot of fun for me. I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, it's obvious that you enjoy it, and I think that's good. One thing I do want to say too, you talked about how there's a lot of information out there, and Christy was just watching videos and videos and this video and that video, and at one point she said that one dog trainer had said, pick one and follow that person. And I think when she did that, I think she started getting a lot better results. But then, of course, she could only do it so far, and that's when she hired you, and then that was just the best thing we could have done.
Unfortunately, people get a little bit of experience, and they decide, hey, this is a lot of fun. I think I can make some money at this as a side job or a full-time job. But a lot of times they don't have the experience, a variety of experience, and often they get in over their head. I've had clients come to me that have tried other trainers, and the problems that they're dealing with aren't addressed. Mm-hmm. And that's because the trainer doesn't have the experience to know how to do that. They try, but they don't have the experience, so they fail. Mm-hmm. And then those owners have to find some other way to get the help. Mm-hmm. And that's the clients that I like to get.
Yeah. So there's different types of training. What different types of training are there out there, and then which ones do you specialize in?
There are, briefly, the positive only. It's a great methodology, but it doesn't always work with all dogs. And that is where they kind of guide the dog through all the behaviors and try to redirect them from problems, say aggression, by using treats or a toy. And that doesn't always work. You got to have some other methodology. Then you've got not so much today, but they have what they used to refer to as a force trainer, and there was a lot of heavy-handedness in the training. Those are the extremes. So you want to find something in the middle. You don't want to be too heavy-handed, but you don't want to be too soft-handed either. You've got to have a way to communicate to the dog to teach them through positive means new behaviors. But when they start making mistakes, there has to be a consequence. So how do you deal with that? I consider myself more what they call a balanced trainer, where I've got a lot of tools in my toolbox to solve issues, and I'll use what I need to do to make the dog successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And are there names for them? I think there's there's obedience training.
Well, it depends on what you're looking for. Obedience training is just teaching the dog basic manners, and every dog should have obedience training. So they should be able to sit on command, stay, and walk nicely on the leash at a bare minimum. I also teach down, stay. We can teach stand for grooming. We can teach them to jump up into vehicles or wherever they might need to go. So that's the obedience piece, just getting that control so that you're not worried about what your dog's going to do. Then you can get into protection training. You can get into scent training, where anything from tracking, which a lot of people do for fun. Law enforcement and rescue organizations use that for finding lost people or criminals. Mm-hmm. You've got the hunting dogs, which is another specialty where you use obedience, but then you're also taking the dog's natural drives and building on those to help you hunt, mm-hmm. whatever it is you're hunting. Then you've also got the service dogs, anything from C&I dogs to those dogs that just are there to help people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. And another area that's coming up is emotional support dogs. It's not a recognized specialty. The dogs, in order to get qualified as a service dog, have to be able to do something other than just be there. Mm-hmm. A lot of times an emotional support dog is just there to be a comfort. Mm. But in order to be able to take them anywhere, you've got to get them trained as a service dog, and that's a lengthy, time-consuming process.
Yeah, I have a question for you. I remember that not too long, it's probably been a few years ago now, that there was some talk about people putting I can't remember the jacket on these dogs, mm-hmm. that showed them, but they really weren't, mm-hmm. those dogs. What do you remember that story?
Yeah, I do, and I see it all the time. Really? And it's very easy to tell when a dog has got training because they're well behaved. Oftentimes, these people bring dogs into a restaurant, or they try to get them onto airplanes or public transportation, and the dogs are just out of control. And they still have the vest that says service dog. There's no way.
Right.
If your dog isn't well behaved going in somewhere, why should a business owner let you in, mm-hmm. with that dog?
Yeah. It's almost like that stolen valor thing.
It is. And it's frustrating because you can go and buy those things anywhere. You can order them online.
Yeah, it is frustrating because, again, we have a situation where you've got, somebody that did invest the time and money, mm-hmm. into a service dog. Right. And then somebody comes along and just buys a jacket, and they ruin it for everyone.
Right. And there's a lot of crackdown happening with that, but not as much as needs to. It's frustrating for me to watch somebody come in with a dog that I can tell clearly doesn't have any training, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. and they're trying to use it as a service dog.
Sure. So you are based in the Denver area.
Correct.
And, I'm sure there's people in other states that are going to watch this or mm-hmm. listen to the podcast. And so with your experience, tell mm-hmm. me what you think. How do you think a person can pick out a good dog trainer and know they're getting, what are some of the kind of bullet points that you think that you would look for?
Well, one of the sales techniques that a lot of trainers will use is they'll have what's called a demo dog, and it's their personal dog that is trained to the nines. It's just a perfect dog, and they'll use that to show you what can happen. What they don't tell you is it takes a long time for that to happen, to get to that point. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, I want to see the trainer handle my dog. Mm. Let me see that initial. So if they're not willing to show you with your dog just to get you started, I would question that.
Okay.
Because they should be able to do something, even if it's just simply teaching it or working with a sit, seeing how they handle your dog. Is there a lot of force? Is there a lot of treats? Whatever. Because I use both, mm-hmm. right? I'll use pressure and I'll use treats, whatever I need to do to make the dog successful. But you want to see them put hands on your dog and see how well that works. Mm-hmm. Some dogs take to it relatively easy. I can take the leash of most dogs, and they'll start to understand what's going on, and they're relatively calm. And other dogs, when they're very fearful, it may take a little bit more for me to finesse them to get them calm. Honesty is a big thing. You know, if you don't feel the trainer's being honest with you, don't hire them.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting too, in that news segment, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it or not, but the gal was saying that he came over to her house and she said that he basically hit her dog.
Yeah.
You know.
if somebody hits your dog, send them packing, send them bye-bye.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for me to hit a dog, short of them latched onto my arm, but even then I've got other ways to kind of get them to stop.
Right.
And usually if a dog's going to bite me, it's not going to be a bite and hold like a police dog would do. It's going to be a bite and let go.
Right.
But yeah, if they're overly forceful with your dog, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Their credentials, there are some schools that you can take online and get certified as a dog trainer, and you never have to handle a dog, and that to me is wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a good point. We talked about that before we started the show, and that was that there are certifications out there that you just go and you basically pay for the certification and you call yourself a dog trainer.
Right. Well, and see, the old days, which I'm a part of, your experience was working with other trainers and actually doing the work, not just taking an online class and getting the certificate. You have to be able to cut your teeth doing what you want to do. Now there are schools. There are several schools out there that are very good. You go to, and you're working dogs, and you're actually putting the methodology into practice. And if that's the case, then that might work out. Not always. The other thing is, can they talk to you? You know, that's something that frustrates me about some people. I met a dog trainer who said, I love working the dogs. I hate talking to people. Well, if you can't talk to the people, how are you going to get the business to train their dog?
Well, especially when it's a 60-40 split.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
If it's 60% the owner and you don't
Right.
want to talk to the owner and you're only doing 40%, you're going to get, you know, not even 20% of the results that you want.
Right. And, you know, I've worked, I'm a people person anyway. I love dealing with people, hence my law enforcement career and everything else I've done. But I have to be able to explain what I need you to do in a way that you can understand. Because if I throw jargon at you, you're not going to understand it. So I'm very thorough in making sure that people understand what it is I need, because I'm taking them from what they're comfortable in doing and asking them to do things repeatedly that they don't understand, or they don't have they just don't know how to do it yet. They don't have to move yet. Right. Because when you're working with a dog, you have to manipulate yourself as well as them to get things done.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, like I said a few minutes ago, you're in the Denver area. So people that are out of state, those are the things that they would do to try to look for a good trainer.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there was one trainer that Christy was watching online, and quite frankly, I was not a fan of him, and it was because he was bashing everybody else's way of training. And the one thing I've realized is that each person is different, you know? So instead of saying, don't ever, I remember watching, don't ever train a dog like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that maybe doesn't work for you,
Right.
but it probably works for another person, you know?
Right.
And if it gets the result.
Exactly. And I love, as a dog trainer, I can watch videos on YouTube, and I love to watch other trainers work because I might pick out something that works for me that I can use. And somebody who doesn't have the experience, though, they look at this, and I actually had a client who was trying this. They would try something from one trainer, then try something from another trainer, and so on and so forth. And all they're doing is confusing themselves and their dogs. So you want somebody who can take all that information, and the idea may be right on getting it done that way, but maybe we have to do something a little bit different. Maybe we have to finesse it a little bit more so that it gets done. So as a dog trainer, I can look at that and take those bits and pieces. As a novice dog person, it gets confusing. Then when you're confused, the dog's confused. And then you've got just all kinds of problems.
Well, how many years do you think experience a person should have before they, I mean, you know, it's funny, and I'm going to back up for a second here. I have a video on driveway installation called How to Install an Asphalt Driveway. And I don't let companies on the referral list that don't have at least a year experience, right? And I had one guy comment on my video, pretty nice comment actually. It had a lot of vulgarities in it, and he basically said, "I think that's bull crap that you don't allow a guy that's just starting on your referral list, you know." And he was not nice, and I just laughed because it's like, well, go get some experience. And you know, his excuse was, well, how am I supposed to get experience if nobody will give me a shot? Well, there are people that will give you a shot. You know, you just got to do the best you can with those people, and once you get the experience, you can come on board. So, what do you think? What's your opinion of how much experience a person should have actually working with dogs before they should really be able to go, hey, I'm a good, solid dog trainer?
I would say a couple years, and that's if they work with somebody else. You know, there's a lot of outlets for dog training. You've got Schutzhund, which is a protection dog sport. You've got and some other protection dog sports. You've got the hunting realm, and you've got just basic obedience. If you're just going to specialize in obedience, I would say a couple of years, preferably working a couple hundred dogs. Get a few hundred dogs under your belt to get started. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So if you come across something, if you've got a dog that's got an aggression problem and you haven't ever worked with aggression, don't try to do it. You got to be honest about your abilities. So a couple of years, I would say at least, and then have somebody that you can go to and ask. That's what I did when I started with police dogs out of the military. I had a good foundation, but I had a friend of mine at Lakewood PD that if I had a question, I could go to him because I knew he knew the answer because he'd been doing it a long time. So you need to have that resource. Don't be afraid to talk to another trainer.
So as a consumer, if they're looking for a dog trainer, these are the things that they would want to look for. Now, you mentioned something about an aggressive dog. Can an aggressive dog be, I don't know what we would call it, rehabilitated?
Rehabilitated. It depends on what the issue is, because you've got fear aggression, and then everything from fear aggression to just I'm going to kick everybody's butt aggression. And it really depends on the dog. A lot of times we can get it to where it's not a major issue. But what I tell people is we're dealing with a living, breathing creature that has a mind of its own. And we can't sit down and get what the root cause of that aggression is. We have to teach them how to live in our family or our life. Most of the times it gets to a point where it's not going to be an issue. Case in point, I had a dog named Bosley, and they'd gone through another trainer that never looked at the dog and charged them an astronomical fee just to evaluate the dog, but never looked at the dog. And he had some aggression, a lot of aggression. When I first met him, he was not going to have any part of me. He wanted to bite me bad. And
really?
I got the leash. After about 5 minutes, I had him walking calmly on a leash. And they spent a lot of time, this family, because they had already been invested in this dog, spent a lot of time with me, and we did a lot of work. And we're still concerned. They could take him probably about 75, 80% of the places they wanted to go. I could take him pretty much anywhere I wanted to go just because of what I was looking at. Several years later, they called me and said, I got to tell you this story, because this is a dog that would bite somebody without a blink. They were up at their property up in Bailey, and he had the owner had his back to the driveway, and somebody had come up he didn't notice. He was throwing the ball for Bosley, and all of a sudden he threw the ball. Bosley went down, turned around, and saw this guy. So he sees Bosley look behind him, so he looks behind him, and Bosley takes off running. He thought to himself, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house, because he knew that Bosley could be that way. So he's calling him, he's telling him to out and stop, and Bosley runs up to the guy, sniffs him, and then said, okay, and came back to the owner.
Oh, wow.
And that was, so can it be done? Yes. Can I guarantee it? No.
Sure.
And any dog trainer that says they can guarantee it, I would take with a grain of salt.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, that's, to me, anything. I think if people can guarantee something that is, it's like we were talking actually on a show the other day about concrete, you know, and there's guys that will go out and say, oh, guarantee it won't crack.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it's not if, it's when. And so same thing with a dog. If somebody's if somebody's guaranteeing something, that's a pretty It's pretty tough.
Well, and if people do what I ask them to do, things are so much better, and they're prepared for the dog to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. So it was Bosley, the dog that we were looking at the video
No,
earlier?
that's Dibs.
So Dibs. So
Dibs, similar situation. He had actually, they got a hold of me because the dog had broken out of a room. They had him blocked in a room because they knew he was aggressive, and the dog went out and bit the pizza delivery guy.
Oh boy.
I blame the pizza delivery guy, but that's Dibs did bite him, so they got a summons from City Golden, and they had to do something, so we started working with him.
Gotcha. And that was a video. So Christy's got that queued up. Let's watch that real quick.
Same thing, just bring him out here. Now just make sure that is around his neck really tight.
Yeah.
Okay? Go ahead and walk him on up a little ways. Just up to the camper and back.
Okay, so that was about how long ago would you say that was?
That was on our first meeting, so I wanted them to bring him out. He's in muzzle for everybody's safety.
Right.
And you can see how stressed and strained they were dealing with him. And we started working, and they did everything I asked them to do, and Dibs changed just through the training. Number one, it's getting them to relax. Once they're relaxed, he can relax. Because if you're stressed, your dog's going to feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And so this other video here, let's take a look at that one and see the difference in the results and how he was.
Okay. Out turn, heel. Keep him. You don't have to pull tight on that leash, right? Give him slack. Let him make that turn. Okay, come back. Heel. There you go. Good.
He is blocking right.
Nice. Good job. That's the way, boy. Okay, about turn. Heel. There you go. Just guide him over. There you go. Just like that. Good. You can stop anytime you want. Good. Come back. Heel. Get distraction here. He wants to say hi. Stop and sit. There you go. Good.
All right, so about how long was it from the first video to the one in the Home Depot?
The last one at Home Depot was his fourth session. So what I'll normally do is we'll work around the house for the first 3 sessions. Then that last session we'll take a field trip. Go somewhere where we can see how well he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're adding more distractions.
He looked totally calm.
He's a wonderful dog. He just was misunderstood.
Really?
So we just through the work that they did, because they do it all. I'm there to show you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do it, life is great. If they don't, then things don't change.
Sure. Yeah. So I was looking here a minute ago, and somebody texted in and had a question, and it says, as far as the aggressive dog behavior we were asking, what is the success rate of changing aggressive dog behavior?
I'm not looking at just completely taking that out, as I said before, because I can't guarantee it. But all the dogs that I've worked with, I have yet to fail one on aggression. But that requires a lot on the owner's part.
Sure.
And other trainers deal with it differently. Some trainers don't work with it at all, but I've got a pretty good success rate. I couldn't quantify it with a number, but I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, fantastic. So, okay, so that you can see that dog. I'm sorry, the video was a night and day difference, and you can see a complete difference. So here's another video of someone that you're training their dog. It looks to be like a miniature German Shepherd. I'm not too sure what it is.
Yeah,
but
it's a German Shepherd cross.
Is it?
Yeah.
So let's watch this video real quick, and then I'll ask you a couple questions.
Okay, ready? Heel. No, you're good. He's okay. Good, 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 good. Heel forward. Heel. Come on, come on. Good boy. Get short. Heel. No, remember back. So circle him around. Circle him around. No, circle him around. Don't apologize. Just circle him back to go back to the end. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Go ahead. Just walk. No, just walk. Just walk. Tell him heel. There you go. Now get short and stop. Heel. Sit. Good boy.
Okay, so tell me about the story about this dog and
Okay, so in the video, we're working on the heel behavior, which is bringing the dog in close to you so that if you're going through a busy area, you don't have to worry about him wandering off. Just like you see law enforcement dogs when they're taking the dog to and from a spot, they'll bring the dog at heel so that they've got them in close to them. Leash behavior, on the other hand, is just a walk, just a natural walk. So I'm not going to do heel for long distances. That's when we'll walk. If you take your dog out for a walk, just leash behavior. But if you come into a busy area, you can bring them in closer to you at heel, and that's what the video shows. That's what we're working on.
Gotcha. Very good. Okay. So, so I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier. You're in the Denver area, and you specialize in, what was it again?
I specialize in aggression, but obedience is the way to gain control over an aggressive dog.
And you have experience training police dogs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Okay.
When I was before I went to dog school, I was in the military. Just a quick story. I was lucky enough to have 6 months of on-the-job training with the canine unit at the post that I was stationed at. So they walked me through everything I was going to learn at school. They said, when you get to school, don't admit to knowing anything. Mm-hmm. I'm 21 years old. I know everything. So when the instructor asked that, who has experience, I raised my hand, and he said, okay, tell me about it. And I told him. I got a look that if I could have crawled into my shoes, I would have, because it scared me instantly, the look he gave me. And he said, okay, I've got the dog for you. I thought, oh my God, my life is over. Come to find out, the dog that they assigned me had put 3 handlers and an instructor in the hospital. Not just bit him, but put him in the hospital. So that's the dog I got to meet. And I knew this when I first met him. So needless to say, I was a little stressed. But we got to a point where we had an understanding. You don't bite me, and I'll pass you. I'll get you to pass. And it took a lot of work, and I loved the challenge because I'd already worked a couple of different dogs, and he definitely gave me a run for my money. So I learned how to deal with that aggression early, and it's kind of paid off since. I've had a couple of instances where I've had to work some extremely aggressive dogs to change their behavior. Actually 2 in particular turned out to be pretty good police dogs that they could take anywhere, that initially they were a little bit concerned with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This brings me to a question. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a question about, there was a point in time where I thought that I might want a dog that was a trained dog to protect me. Mm-hmm. And I started realizing that may be more of a liability than I wanted. Mm-hmm. Is that true? I mean, it
can be. Okay. It can be, because it requires not only the initial training, but consistent training.
Sure.
Because you can't just say, okay, now you're trained to protect me, and never do any other training, because things get sloppy. Mm-hmm. Dogs, just like people, they get sloppy. So you have to continually remind them of what their job is and what their function is, what they can do and what they can't do. Mm-hmm. Protection dogs are a wonderful asset, but if it's not done correctly or you're not handling it correctly, it can become a very big liability.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I kind of backed out of that, because I know that I'm a busy person, mm-hmm. and one day not on the leash leads to 2, leads to
Right.
5, leads to 2 weeks, and the next thing you know, we better get him back on the lead again.
Yeah, and you have to take a very strong product, meaning the dog has got to be quality temperament across the board. So his temperament, which is his attitude towards life, and just his willingness to do the job, because not all dogs can do it. So that's why you see a lot of protection dogs that are on the market. The companies that do provide those, they are extremely expensive. We're looking at probably $15,000 to $25,000, $30,000.
Wow.
For just a basic protection dog.
No kidding. Wow, that's amazing. I have a friend in California, Chip, who is a former military, and he just got his service dog, and he said it's amazing how smart this dog is and just how obedient they are.
Well, in the service dogs, you're looking at least $10,000, because that's just the amount of training. That's not the dog. That's just the training involved. So they're not cheap.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about pricing. I mean, I don't know how much you want to go through pricing, but so if somebody's in the Denver area, the first thing they can do is they can come to the park. They would probably want to find out and make sure when you're going to be there.
Well,
right?
what I do is I ask people to call me, and then we'll figure out what they're looking for. See what issues they might be having with their dog, and then they can either bring him to the park and we'll take a look at him there, or we can do an evaluation and a quick start, what I call an evaluation and a quick start. And that's where I come to them and I meet the dog, meet them, they meet me, and then I'm going to show them what is possible. So we're going to start with leash behavior and sit, so that they can see how this works and see the change, just like you did. And then they don't have the extra stuff that they're looking at. If they come down to group, they can see it with some other dogs. Usually there are other dogs at different levels, because I deal with just happy-go-lucky dogs and aggressive dogs. So they'll kind of see how that works, and they can see me in that environment. I have nothing to hide. Everything I've got is you can see. If you got a question, I'll tell you. The honesty piece that we talked about. So I like both. If you're dealing with aggression at home, let's say, matter of fact, I got a call from a client today who has a dog that they just adopted, and they're worried about some aggression that they're seeing towards their children. So I need to go see that in that environment. If it's just for the obedience training, either or.
And do you charge for the first initial?
If I go to them, I do, and I charge the evaluation and quick start. It's a $75 fee, and then $50 of that they can apply towards any training program.
Wow, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a great price. So if they bring them to the dog park, you do that one time for free.
Right.
And then
just do that.
And then if you go to them, $75. So now let's say that as I know other people will be as convinced as I was the first time immediately. What's the next package from there?
So we have to build a foundation. Everything, just like building a house, you've got to have a foundation, and that's the same thing with dog training. So for me, a base package, a foundation package, a group training is 5 sessions, where they'll come to group 5 sessions. They don't get as much individual attention. I'm a hands-on guy, so I'm always directing, showing you what to do first, and then directing you. And that, that price is $249 to get started.
That's still
okay, and that's for 5 sessions. Now, if I come to you, it's 4 sessions, so the first 3 will be at the home, and then that 4th session will either go somewhere where we might have distractions. It may be a park, it may be a Home Depot or Lowe's, which I like. We can do some of the big box pet stores, but sometimes they don't like having competition inside.
Sure.
But I don't. If we go there, I don't try to poach their customers. They can have those, so the 4 sessions plus you can come to group, and that kind of helps us proof everything from there.
Yeah.
And that's $599.
Yeah. And I think that's what we did, wasn't it? Yeah. And that was so well worth it. I mean, it was so worth it. And of course, we want to try to do some more ongoing training. I want to kind of wait for it to get a little warmer outside.
Yeah, today's not a conducive day.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah. It's snowing really bad. Yeah. So, but I kind of want to get back to the summer to do some more. But it's funny because we didn't have him on the treadmill. He goes on the treadmill, and we didn't have him on the treadmill. I'm sorry, let me back up. We didn't have a leash on him for a little while. And there was a couple times that Christy would take him down to the treadmill, and he would get really aggressive with her. And I think he actually bit her out of excitement. Didn't draw blood, but he bit her enough that it bothered her and kind of hurt. And the first thing I said was, you need to put the lead on him. And she put the lead on him, and he just to change dog him instantly. I mean, it just changes him. I don't know.
It gives him the direction. He realizes that you're going to guide him where he needs to be.
Gotcha.
You know, it used to be the term dominance you hear in dog training. It's kind of overused. I prefer to use leader. I want to lead my dog through his life. It's my responsibility. If I bring a dog into my family, it's my responsibility to teach him the rules. If I don't teach the rules, then I fail him.
And I remember you telling us too, is he has to acclimate to our family. We don't.
Right. He has to learn to live with you. You don't learn to live with him.
Yeah. And that was a good thing to say, because the reality is there was a few times that, you know, things that he would do that Christy would say, no, Rod says that he needs to learn how to be in our family and not the other way around. And of course, I'm kind of an aggressive person. Anyway.
Well, it's just like when you're kids. Your parents' house, your parents' rules.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Your house, your rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's for the most part, he is just an awesome dog, and I know we can take him further.
Yeah, he's just happy. He's a lot of fun to be around. He just gets a little overexcited.
Yeah, he does. I don't know what is it the owner? Because I got to tell you, my last dog was a black flat coat retriever.
Yeah,
she was exactly the same way. Is it me?
It's a personality thing. Yeah, their attitude towards life is just amazing. They love to experience everything.
Okay,
they just have to learn how to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. So it's not me that caused it?
I'm not saying that.
Okay. Because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I just feel like my last dog, she was the same way. As a matter of fact, my mom came over at one point, and she had contacts in.
Yeah.
She would just jump up for no reason,
yeah.
and she knocked her in the face and knocked her contact out.
Yeah.
And I could not break her of that.
Again, it comes to teaching them what they're allowed to do and what they're not. And you do have a lot of it because you're an excitable person anyway, and then how we communicate with him, and he just is an excitable boy.
Yeah, he's a cool.
He's a lot
dog.
of fun.
So I got another. I guess I got a text here. It says, "Is Rod at the park all year round for classes, and what park is it?"
I don't train in the rain, but most Sundays I'm there. It's an 8:30 or 9:30 class. I ask people to call me during the week before to make sure I'm going to be there. And I'm there all year. I'm an ex-cop, and when we got training days when I was working dogs for the department, you trained when you got the day. It didn't matter what the weather was. So I'll be there even cold. I'll be there this Sunday if it's.
I won't be there.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
It's too cold for me. I don't want to be out in the cold. And what park is it?
It's Clement Park down in Littleton.
Okay. And I guess we should probably give out your phone number so that people can call you and find that out.
My phone number is 303-503-7712.
Okay, so people can call you there and find out if you're
going to
be...
Call me or text me, and I'll answer my call.
On Sunday. And you also have a website that people can go to.
I do. It's rbdogtraining.com.
Okay, so R for Rod, B for...
Boy,
dogtraining.com.
Yeah, we can go there.
Okay. Okay. And they can, obviously learn more about you. And, of course, you have some stuff on YouTube.
I do. If you look up Butss Dog Training on YouTube, you'll find some videos that'll give you – it's a lot of before and after. There's a video of Bosley. I think Dibs is on there also.
Okay.
And then there's just a lot of several different before and after. I don't put process on the video on how we do it, because if you don't do it correctly and it fails, then you're going to badmouth me. Mm-hmm. And I would rather you talk to me and let's figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because there was again one trainer that Christy was watching that he was training, I think online. He was training in the video, and I like that you say that, because the reality is that of course you want people to come to you. I mean, any business does, right? But you are being honest. You're like, hey, look, I'm not going to try to train your dog in a video. Yeah, no. I'll show you what I've done, but I'm not going to try to train you in a video. I like that, which is really, I think I think it's a great approach.
Well, it's good business for me.
Sure.
Because I've worked too hard to get to where I am, to where I'm a resource for others. So I want to make sure that it's done correctly so that you're successful, and then we can talk about how to get and become more successful with your dog.
Sure. A couple more questions about some of the training that you do. Do you ever do, like, there are some trainers, and I will tell you this Justin Paisley, is that his name? Justin Paisley. I know when we talked to him, we were looking for a dog trainer possibly. There was a friend of mine that actually years ago sent their dog off for it was like 3 weeks or something. And when he came back, he was literally like a robot. Yeah. I mean, he just was perfect. But of course, my friend didn't continue with that training, and eventually he just became a normal dog.
Right.
And he wasn't obedient. He didn't do the things that he was supposed to. And that program costs, I think, several $1,000s. Yep. Do you do anything like that?
I don't do board and training for that reason. If I have to teach you how to maintain the training. So I can bring your dog to me, and in a couple of weeks have them doing everything I want them to do. Give them back to you. If you don't know how to maintain that, you're going to lose it. I know of cases where somebody sent their 2 dogs off, spent $4,000, got the dogs back, and then a couple years later went to another trainer to get it to do the same thing, and the trainer flat told him, listen, I'll take your money. I don't mind taking your money. I'll do the job, but you're just going to be wasting money if you don't follow through. So I don't offer that. I'm not in a position to do that. I am looking at adding what I call a day train, where I pick up the dog 3 days a week and do the work. But there's a lot of transition in there where I teach you what you need to do. Sure. Because the dog's the simple part. The owner's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, it's funny as I was saying earlier, that Justin Paisley guy, he said, I don't believe in doing that. I'm thankful that we didn't send him to him, because he probably would have gotten abused, and I certainly don't want my dog abused. But
I want you to see how I handle your dog.
Sure.
That's another nice thing.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. How far will you travel to train a dog?
I've gone to Colorado Springs, and I've gone to Fort Collins. I go out east quite a ways, but it really depends on the dog and what the situation is.
Sure. Do you charge a little more the further you have to go? Yeah. So and that's reasonable. Yeah. You can't expect someone to spend 2 hours of windshield time and not get paid for it, right?
Yeah. That's the hardest part. Working the dog's the easy part. It's that drive back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. But it's worth the investment, and that's really. I mean, we're living proof of it. It really is worth the investment. And what's funny is every time he hears you, he is going crazy. He just loves you.
It's that chip I put right in the back.
No.
They understand who they like to be around.
Yeah.
And hopefully most dogs I have got, they learn to love me sometimes, because they're depending on what the issue is, fear or aggression. But I work very hard at fostering that relationship. But my relationship's only a short bit of it. Their main relationship is with you.
But it's amazing to me that he can hear you.
Yeah.
He hears you, and he can hear you coming, and he is different with you in that you can just tell he just loves you.
Yeah.
And he loves Christy's daughter, and he drives her crazy. But it's different with you because he just, and it's amazing what you've done with him in that aspect.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just the confidence, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Sure.
Is because when I walk in, even with a dog I don't know, I try to relay that confidence.
Yeah. Well, so what I wanted to do is just kind of remind our viewers a couple of things. We appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
I want to tell people that, listen, I mean, you're on our referral list at trustpatrick.com. And if somebody from out of state were to call you, would you just say, yeah, there's nothing I can do for you? Or
I can always find a way. If you need help, I can. There's a couple of things. We're blessed with technology.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple of things that we can do.
Okay.
It's a little bit more cumbersome, maybe. But, I like a challenge.
Good. Okay, perfect. So if you're listening to the podcast, or you're watching us on YouTube, and you're in a different state, and you appreciate Rod's expertise and experience as much as we do, you can certainly give him a call at 303-503-7712, or go to his website, rbdogtraining.com. Of course, again, you can go to our referral list at trustpatrick.com, and you can locate him that way. So I certainly appreciate you being on the show. I hope we get to do more.
Yeah, anytime.
I think we should do more. I think that this is a really good thing. for people to understand that, no matter what it is in life that they're looking for, they've got to try to find the right person and the right fit. So
yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. It's just like anything.
Yeah, very good. So, hey, thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do me a favor. If you're watching us on YouTube, click on the little subscribe button so that you get notified when we upload a video or we go live just like this. And make sure that you click on the bell so that you get live notification instantly, and you'll be able to see, catch the show live. If you're joining us on our podcast, please subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love to have you follow our show. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, you got a problem with a company, or you have a complaint about a company, please give us a call at 866-966-2287 or email us through the website at trustpatrick.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next show.